Hey Dave, thank you so much for coming with me on tonight to have a conscious conversation. And, I'm really excited to talk to you about, I guess, your truth. And I really just want to acknowledge you for your authenticity. I really love the content that you share around what's happening in the world. And I really love the humor that you also incorporate into things like vaccines and also, what's happening in the sky with it getting sprayed and chemtrails. But just talking to you briefly before, so welcome, firstly.
Thanks, Dee. Thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Amazing. And I just want to say, I am like completely taken back and mind blown by your knowledge and your wisdom, not only on, all the so-called conspiracy theories that are out there, but in particular about, the subconscious mind. And we just had a quick little chat, and your knowledge around the importance of us being able to, I guess, bring awareness to what is in our subconscious mind. And so you did mention that there's this really great podcast and some really great recordings with Joseph Murphy and how that interlinks to Neville Goddard. So I'd love for you to share more about that.
Yeah, I think I guess my interest in that topic came from looking at the state of humanity and realizing that most people are operating from an unconscious level. And when they're unconscious, they're operating from their subconscious unknowingly. So
Wow.
they're acting out all of their buried trauma, their triggers, their patterning that they've had since early childhood. And I look out in the world and how all these different agendas can get pushed out. And it's because people are being manipulated on a very deep level that they're not even conscious of. And
Wow.
so,
Wow, this is
yeah.
why we're having this conversation. Like, this is exactly why we've connected, we're having this conversation.
Yeah, and I think if you look at the state of the world, people like ourselves, we say, oh, we want everyone to wake up. We want everyone to wake up. Well, what's waking up really all about? And I think waking up, the first stages of waking up are realizing that we're being lied to. And the second stages of waking up is realizing that we've been lying to ourselves because we're programmed. We're all deeply programmed to some level. And so I guess part of my journey was initially wanting to sort of, wake up the masses. I was jumping up and down, screaming at my phone, doing these crazy, vlogs on Facebook and Telegram and so on. And then I realized that that's not really where the battle is won. It's a spiritual battle and
Wow.
it's a
Yes.
consciousness battle that is only fought and won in the individual first. You can't go and win that for anyone,
Well, I
you
love how
know?
you've articulated that. I love,
Yeah.
and that is what I'm really passionate about
Mhm.
conversing around. And I really, really admire how you've created that. It's almost like people have to go on a journey of healing, would you say? Or actually having to look at parts of themselves that perhaps they're not, willing to look at.
Yeah, definitely. It's taking like radical responsibility, and there is an element of looking at the world and knowing that it is a reflection of our innermost flaws. Like the chaos that we see out in the world is always a reflection of the chaos that we all hold within. And so
Mm.
now that we have this sort of critical mass of people who are taking, radical ownership of the state of the world, we realize that we don't necessarily go and fix it out there. Jumping up and down at rallies and having signs and exposing different topics on social media has its place,
Mm.
but compared to changing your own personal reality and perspective on things, that's infinitely more powerful because we are creative beings. We are made in the image of the creator. And I think the biggest fear of the so-called establishment is they don't want us to realize how powerful we actually are. So they're trying to keep
Well,
the programming going.
how come you don't talk about this stuff? Are you talking about this? This is huge. I'm literally like mind blown. I was not expecting this conversation to get to this point or to even have this come up. So I'm like really taken back right now by, what you're sharing.
Yeah, look, I don't talk about it that much, I guess, because it's been a fairly recent evolution or recent conclusion that I've come to, you know. The last 3 or 4 years, like, no, I never anticipated my role sort of during COVID. You know, I was known as one of the most outspoken people in Australia, and that wasn't something I ever planned.
Mm,
And and a lot of people told me that, you know, I really, without trying to, you know, blow my own trumpet too much, a lot of people told me that I kept them sane because they were like, wow, at least someone's thinking like I am. You know, we could see the insanity of what was going on. And
yeah,
there were
right.
those of us who were just looking at the whole thing going, this is crazy. Like we go to the shopping center, everyone was masked up.
Yeah.
People were queuing for 8 to 10 hours to get tested. They were telling us that having those symptoms was one of the symptoms. They were rolling out this mystery potion 2, 3, 4 times, and it was crazy. But now that we've come through that, it's like, okay, well, how do we actually shift the narrative this time? Like, what's really going on?
It's really
And
deep when you look at it from that perspective. And how does true transformation occur? And so, why do we have cognitive dissonance, or why, are we experiencing reality through all these filters, so to speak? And then our reality is distorted based on what filters we have there, what traumas, or what's there for us in terms of how we experience the world. So, our inner world then dictates how we experience the outer world. Because for the most part, I feel like most people, like everyone that you talk to, is doing the best from what they know, from what their
Mhm.
level of awareness is. And I ultimately believe that fear is just an illusion, Dave. That we are beings of love, that we are beings of peace, we are beings of joy. Nobody wants to see people like hurt. We don't intentionally hurt people. Well, I can't fathom that people are out there and they intentionally want to hurt people.
No, I don't think that they intentionally. I think the programming takes over, and
Mm,
I think their ability to have volition and to decide is no longer with them. They're kind of on autopilot. So when someone's deeply asleep and deeply unconscious, they're very much subject to the programming, and the programming is quite malevolent if you look at it. You
mm.
know, you've only got to look at something like, you know, say if you went back to the opening ceremony of the 2012 Olympics, which was largely the predictive programming for the mass consciousness of everything that happened from 2020 onwards, like that's how the collective is being programmed in a dark or quite sinister way. And so when people aren't seeing the programming and they're not seeing the symbolism and the witchcraft and the occult manifestations,
Almost like a hypnosis,
it's a
but with
hypnosis
words, right?
with
And
words, with symbols, with the whole thing. Like they're called opening ceremonies for a reason.
yeah, and I think also, Dave, like our words are really powerful, and our being, like our resonance, our souls hold so much power. And when we emanate that love, when we hold that intention of, pure love, pure joy, pure peace, we can then actually light up other human beings in their soul. But I also feel like people are operating from blind spots, so they're not conscious of their blind spots. And it's not easy for us to become conscious of our blind spots, which are actually sitting in our subconscious mind. I know from my own experience that I've had to like really dig deep in my own subconscious mind. And I've worked with so many different people, and I've had so many, and when you have tools in your toolkit and you're able to, work with modalities such as, neuro linguistic programming, they call it neurotransformation therapy. There's many different modalities out there. And there's many different programs that can assist us. There's breath work, and clearing out your vagus nerve and regulating your nervous system. Because what I found is, like, our schooling systems are not designed to care for children's nervous systems. Right. And so
Mhm.
what we're doing is we're dysregulating children's nervous systems, and then they're operating like this as adults. They're doing the 9 to 5 gig, driving around, they're on antibiotics and all these vaccines, so they're completely dysregulated. And so and it's almost like we have to slow everything right down so that people can actually like be in their bodies, because I actually feel like people are not even in their bodies.
No, they're not. And for the most part, they're in their devices. And if you look at the way children are being raised with technology and scrolling and having access to this whole World Wide Web. You
Mm.
know, it's pretty alarming. I know that when I spend a lot of time scrolling, my whole nervous system is elevated. I'm in a state, I mean, I'll pay close attention because I do stay conscious of my bodily state, but I'll notice a mild level of anxiety creeping in when I've had too much screen time. So it's like, okay, put the phone down, let's go for a walk, let's do some movement, let's read a book, let's do something that's not technology based. But for children who have been raised in hyperstimulation, their nervous systems are permanently altered. And then when you take the device off them, they don't know what to do. And so this whole Gen Z, who doesn't really remember a time before the internet, they are literally wired differently.
Actually, you know what, Dave? I am surprised. I am really, really surprised. There are some highly, highly conscious Gen Z human beings out there that are like have high states, high levels of awareness. So, yeah, I guess it depends on the individual, but I do get everything that you're saying around technology and whether or not we're aware of the impact that it has to, chemicals, dopamine, addictions, anxiety, and all the rest of it. But it's going to be interesting to see what unfolds in terms of like the levels of anxiety, mental health, depression, how people are even functioning out there in society as well.
Well,
It's
what you have access to on one of these things is extraordinary, and that's never happened before in the history of the world. You know, there has never been at your fingertips everything from the most benevolent messaging and creativity and so on, right down to the absolute bottom of the barrel. You can find whatever you want. You can find the darkest, most sinister things on the internet, and you
mm,
can find the most beautiful things as well. You can find out how to, make a bomb, or you can find out how to grow your own vegetables. Like it's all there.
yeah.
You can do a university degree from your phone. You can grow a business. You can start a podcast. There's just so much that you can do, and there's no one telling us what to watch and what not to watch. And so we, as adults, we have that discretion and that ability to choose. But these young kids, like it's like when the sign says wet paint, don't touch. We always want to touch it. And for young kids, if they're told not to go somewhere, they're going to go there and they're going to find the most shocking stuff. And that's what's largely going on as well. It's
Well, it's
very, very concerning.
it's about free will choice, but I also feel like if we have empowered families, like for example, my daughter's school, like it's very holistic learning, but they're not allowed any technology from kindy to year six. Like
Wow.
no technology, like no phones, no iPads, no computers. And I brought sunglasses because I spend a lot of time out in the sun, and the teacher's like, D, no sunglasses. Like, wow, this is incredible. They're teaching children how to cook from scratch, how to like grow food, how to knit so they find motor skills. And my daughter's climbing trees, like she's climbing right to the top and she's like
Yeah,
swinging,
magnificent.
right?
Magnificent. And that's obviously quite a rare school compared to the system or the
Oh, listen.
matrix is churning out.
Yes, and listen to this. Listen to this, Dave, right? So basically, like a few of the parents who have mainstreamed their kids and it just the children were getting anxiety and depression, and they were like really high-end schools in Sydney. They've actually
Mhm.
moved down and enrolled their children in this school. And I was talking to the parents because I was a bit nervous. I was like, is my daughter intellectually going to be able to advance here? That was, and then I realized that they work on the body, they work on the child having all their energy on the body, and then they build this foundation where then the knowledge comes in, but the knowledge that they give them is completely different to mainstream. So what the parents said to me is, D, like they were really, my child was really dysregulated, and then they came here and they're like so happy, but their learning slowed right down. So I was like, wow, they have these systems where children are getting anxiety, depression, children. Like it's like, wow, anxiety in like 5, 6, 7-year-old kids. Like that blows my mind,
Mind
right?
blowing. Yeah.
Doesn't it blow your mind?
But it's part of the agenda. Like the public school system is teaching children about multiple genders, men can have babies, all this,
Men can have
all
babies.
that's what they're teaching kids in the public school. They're teaching that, you can have like this is all the gender bender agenda that they're rolling out through primary school. You know, the ABC and this whole, what's the one they do where they have transvestites, you know, transvestite story hour, tranny story time.
I'm
You know,
not aware of any of that. So
yeah, drag story time is something they've been pushing for a long time, where they get a transvestite to come and read books to children to try and, you know, normalize this sort of activity from a very, very young age. And, you know, obviously people get they throw the label around, oh, you're a homophobe or you're transphobic or whatever. No, it's not that at all. It's like transvestites have been around forever. It's just let the kids be kids. That's why they're having depression. That's why they're having anxieties, because they're confused. And when a child sees, this is the thing,
so
is that when a
sad,
child's
Dave. Like I can't believe that. So in my little world, it's quite protected, and I don't go out there and like I'm kind of sheltered in a bubble, so to speak. But I
yeah,
feel like it's sad that like that's what our society is experiencing, and we have all this education, we have all this knowledge, we have all this research, we have all this available at the fingertips of technology, and yet like our society is still playing out in this type of reality.
but it's by design, D, and that's the whole aspect that most people aren't aware of, is that this is all by design. It's deliberate, and it's to break down the family unit, because the family unit is the cornerstone of a civilized society. And they've been doing this for a long time. Like they manipulated the whole feminism idea. So they took mums out of the home and put them into the workforce.
They
So the
masculine,
children,
they made them more masculine,
they
Dave.
made them more masculine.
And
And in doing
dysregulated,
so,
by the way.
and in doing so, made them taxable as well, made them machines, you know, wheels in the cogs of the big machine for the matrix, for the big industrial complex that we're all part of. And then the kids get raised by the daycare centers and the public schools and so on, instead of by the mum, who was traditionally at home while the father was the provider and so on. And so all of this is by design. And at the core of this is confusing the genders so that the family can be pulled apart even further. And you've only got to look at how many families, unfortunately, haven't worked out. And we've all experienced that. And look, even for myself, like I have found relationships tough over the years. And
Yeah,
I look at unfortunately most of my friends,
very
un
relatable, Dave. It's so relatable. It's so
most
relatable. Like we don't have a system that supports. Sorry, I keep interrupting, but
it's
like
okay.
you've got so much gold here, and I'm like really excited to speak to somebody with your level of knowledge and understanding. However, I feel like I have so much compassion for human beings because our systems here are not designed to like pour into family structures, to have healthy families, healthy children, healthy masculine and feminine. Like this whole system's designed to like dysregulate our nervous systems, to inject us, to medicate us, right? Like to completely dehumanize us. So we don't know which way's up or down. We're like confused. We're traumatized from like generational trauma on top of that. Like we probably have a society that's walking around either with CPTSD or PTSD, and they're not even aware of it, you know, they're not conscious of it. So where do we start as like, anyways, we better not get into that conversation.
Look, to answer your question
But
briefly,
I have so much compassion. It's like these people are just doing the best, like everyone's doing the best that they can with what they have, you know?
yeah, and the thing is that we can do better. We can do better, and it's up to the individual to choose to do better. And there is all of this is taking us somewhere, and I think humanity kind of has to hit a bit of a rock bottom to say, right, this what we're doing is obviously not working, and then we go, right, well, what does work? You know, and that's what we have to ask ourselves first and foremost. You know, I think things like sobriety works, you know, total accountability works, reading books works, being in nature works,
Yeah,
community
wow.
projects works.
Yeah.
You know, it's identifying what doesn't work and then gravitating toward what does work and then doing more of that. Like it's not really that hard. And then it's as well, like it's as simple as just practicing the golden rule. Like if you come across someone, whether they're gay, straight, old, young, rich, or poor, it doesn't really matter. It's like you just treat that person how you would like to be treated.
With love and compassion and like like we like our humanity's there, right?
Yeah, well, it's just asking yourself, how do I like to be treated? And we all actually fundamentally like to be treated the same. We like to be respected, we like to be listened to, we like
Mm.
to be treated kindly. And I think at the core of us as well, I think most people by nature are non-violent. I'm very much I stand by the principle of non-violence. Don't get me wrong, like I'm an enthusiast of boxing and combat sports
Yeah,
and so on.
yeah.
But when it comes to resolving disagreements, I think that violence is the dumbest thing ever. If you
Mm.
can't communicate how you feel on a certain topic, we all have our different experiences of things, but the ability to communicate and to listen is what makes us human and not savages.
Yeah, wow. And I'm of the belief, or I'm of the, I guess like I'll wrap it up now because I'm conscious of time and I know you have an early start. And I just want to say, you've actually blown my mind this evening. Like I did not expect to have this conversation with you, Dave. Like it was not scripted or structured. I think we were going to talk about chemtrails and
Oh, we
like
can do that on the next one,
no,
Dee, for sure.
I'm like so mind blown at you. And your mention of Neville Goddard, and also I just want to put this out there because I'm really into evolution of consciousness. So Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy has like a timeless knowledge. Can you just tell me a little bit more about that, just so we can get it out there? Because Neville Goddard is huge, but I've never actually heard of Joseph Murphy, and I'm gonna like get into his stuff right.
Oh, you're going to have a great night tonight.
I know.
Yeah, look, I think,
Yeah.
I think if we look at what we've experienced for the last 4 years, and if I speak just for myself, I think if I identified what was the most frustrating thing, it was the feeling of powerlessness.
Mm.
When we were told we couldn't go to a particular venue if we hadn't had the mystery potion, when we were told we couldn't get on a plane unless we wore a mask, if we were told we couldn't go to a restaurant, we couldn't cross a border, we couldn't see our loved ones, we couldn't see the elderly, the playground had to be closed, like all these horrible things that were wrong, but we
Mm.
were powerless to stop them. It didn't, and the rallies, yeah, they were effective to some degree, the petitions, the lobbying, the Facebook rants, the social media, and so on. But where I'm going with this, D, is that, okay, where is the real power? And the real power is actually in the subconscious mind that we have no concept of.
Yeah,
And
wow.
so if we can
Yes.
learn to impress and understand the subconscious mind, we are actually able to shape things in a much better way. And that's if we have a lot of people moving in that direction in this spiritual war, then I think that's how we win it.
Yeah, wow. That is huge. And that is what I am a stand for as well. I mean, can you believe that we only use 5% of our conscious mind and we actually operate from 95% of our subconscious mind? So, how much power is there for us to tap into? And when you look at people who had that power, people like Gandhi, who, operated at high levels of conscious mind, people that wanted to unite humanity, and that's where the power was. It was in uniting humanity in love, in peace. It wasn't in that destructive, low dense, low vibrational energy of separation, separating the family unit, separating countries, separating people, and due to color of their skin or their religion or whatever agenda that played out. But I've learned so much from just this conversation tonight, and I'm starting to discover that there's so much more for us to learn, and there's so much power in sharing our wisdom and knowledge. So I just want to say thank you so much. Like you have blown my mind.
It's a pleasure,
I
Dee.
just
We'll
want to
do it
acknowledge you for your
again.
wisdom and like for how you articulated that and how you created that tonight. So thank you so much.
It's a pleasure, Dee, and I'd love to do it again. It's been really nice getting to know you and really enjoyed the conversation tonight. So yeah, let's catch up again for sure.
Amazing. Thank you, Dave.
Thanks, Dee. Bye for now.